You know, there comes a day on just about every little homestead when a fella stands at the edge of his pasture with a cup of coffee in his hand and says, "I believe it's time we got something out there eating that grass." And the very next thought that comes into his head, every single time, is, well now, goats or sheep? And that's where folks get stuck. They'll sit on that fence for 2 years. They'll read everything on the internet, and the internet will tell them goats are little demons that eat tin cans and escape through a keyhole, and sheep are dumb as a post and lay down and die if you look at them wrong. And neither one of them things is true, but there's just enough truth in both of them to keep a man from making a decision. So let me save you those 2 years. I've run both. I've had goats climb on the hood of my truck, and I've had sheep that never once in their whole life gave me a bit of trouble. And I'm going to tell you straight, this ain't about which animal is better. There ain't a better one. It's about which one fits your ground, your fence, your freezer, and honest to goodness, your temperament. Get that match right, and you've got an animal that pays its way and makes you smile every morning. Get it wrong, and you've got a chore you learn to hate. So today we're going to go through the 7 things that actually decide it. And I mean the things that really decide it, not the stuff folks argue about online. We'll count them down from 7 to number 1, and I'll tell you plain which animal wins each one and why. And number 1 is the one nobody talks about, and it's the one that sent more goats and more sheep down the sale barn road than all the other 6 put together. So grab your coffee and stick with me. Before the countdown, 4 things you got to get straight. But before we start counting, we've got to clear up 4 things, because if you don't have these straight in your head, nothing else I say is going to help you. First thing, they ain't the same animal, and they ain't even close. Folks lump them together because they're both about the size of a big dog, and they both come with hooves and a bleat. But a goat is a browser, and a sheep is a grazer, and that one difference right there drives about 80% of everything else. A goat left to himself wants to eat up leaves, brush, briars, saplings, vines, the low branches off your apple tree if you let him. He's built like a deer in his habits. A sheep wants to eat down, grass, clover, the short stuff, head to the ground, working along like a lawnmower. So before you pick your animal, go stand in your pasture and look at it honest. If what you're looking at is green grass, you want sheep. If what you're looking at is a mess of multiflora rows and brush and stuff you've been meaning to bush hog for 6 years, you want goats. Match the animal to the feed you've actually got, not the feed you wish you had. Second thing, figure out what you want out of them before you buy a single head. And be honest with yourself. Do you want milk in the kitchen every morning? Do you want meat in the freezer? Do you want wool? Or do you flat out not want to deal with shearing ever in your life? Do you want brush cleared? Or do you just want something pretty out there that keeps the grass down and makes the place look like a farm? Every one of those answers points a different direction, and there's no shame in any of them. But a man who buys animals first and figures out the purpose later has bought himself a hobby that eats hay. Third thing, whatever you decide, you're buying at least 2. I don't care which one you pick. Both of these are flock animals, herd animals, right down in their bones. A single goat or a single sheep by itself is a miserable, hollering, fence-testing, depressed creature, and it'll drive you crazy, and it won't thrive. 2 minimum. 3's better. This ain't optional, and it ain't sentimental. It's just how they're wired. And fourth thing, and this is the big one, your fence is the real decision, not the animal. The fence. I want you to hear me on this. If you've got good woven wire fence, or you're willing to put up good woven wire fence, you can run either one and be happy. If what you've got is 3 strands of barbed wire and a prayer, then you don't have a goat pasture. And I'd argue you don't have much of a sheep pasture either, but you're a whole lot closer. Whatever you spend on fence, you'll get back in nights of sleep. Old-timers used to say if it won't hold water, it won't hold a goat. And that's an exaggeration, but it's the useful kind of exaggeration. All right, with all that under our belts, let's start the countdown. Number 7, what they eat and what that's worth to you. Coming in at number 7, feed and forage. And I already tipped my hand on this one, but let's go deeper, because this is where you find out whether these animals are going to cost you money or save you money. A goat is a browser, and that means a goat is a land-clearing tool that reproduces. That's not a joke, that's a real thing. Turn a handful of goats into a lot that's grown up in briars and brush and honeysuckle and young locust, and in one season, they will change the look of that ground. They'll eat the stuff a mower can't reach and the stuff you don't want to walk into. They'll strip a multiflora rose thicket that would take you 3 weekends and a chainsaw. And the whole time, they're the happiest animals on the place, 'cause that's what they were built to eat. Feeding a goat nothing but flat green grass is like feeding a man nothing but crackers. He'll live, but he ain't getting the best of it, and he'll be looking over the fence at your bushes the whole time. A sheep is a grazer, and that means a sheep turns grass into meat and wool better than about anything you can put on a small place. Pound for pound on good pasture, sheep are efficient in a way that'll surprise you. They don't need grain to do well. A lot of folks ruin sheep by graining them when good grass and good hay would have done the job better and cheaper. Give a sheep decent pasture, clean water, some minerals, and hay for the winter, and that animal is close to self-sufficient. And sheep are easier on a fence because their heads are down. A grazer ain't standing up on his hind legs looking for something better on the other side. So who wins number 7? Depends entirely on your ground. Brush and rough ground, goats, all day. Grass and open pasture, sheep, no contest. And here's the thing folks don't say enough. If you've got both kinds of ground, the old-timers ran both together on purpose, 'cause they don't compete for the same bite. That's real efficiency. Number 6, the fence and the escape problem. At number 6, containment. And this is the one that's got goats their whole reputation, so let's just be honest about it. Goats are smart. Genuinely smart. Smarter than sheep. Smarter than most cattle. Smart enough to be a problem. A goat looks at a fence the way a man looks at a puzzle. He'll test it. He'll lean on it. He'll put his front feet up on it and see if it gives. He'll find the one spot where the wire's loose or the post is rotted, and he will find it within a week of you not noticing it. And a goat with horns will get his head through a square of woven wire and then can't get it back out. And now you're out there in the rain freeing a goat that put himself in jail. And goats climb. If you've got a stack of pallets, a round bale, a truck bed, or a stump anywhere near that fence line, a goat will use it as a launching pad. That's not malice. That's just a goat being a goat. Sheep, on the other hand, mostly want to stay where the grass is. A sheep will get out. Anything with hooves will get out. But a sheep gets out by accident, through a gate you left open or a hole that's been there a while. A sheep ain't got a plan. What sheep will do is push, all together, all at once, if something scares them, and they'll go through a weak spot as a group. But day to day, sheep are considerably easier to keep home. What you actually want for either one is woven wire, field fence, 4 foot, with the smaller squares at the bottom, and a strand of electric run along the inside about nose high to teach them to keep off it. That's the gold standard, and it'll hold either species for 20 years. Electric netting works real well too, and it's what a lot of folks use for rotational grazing, and you can move it, which is worth a lot. But run a goat on netting and you'd better keep that charger hot, 'cause a goat that learns the fence is dead is a goat that's already in your orchard. Winner on number 6, sheep, clear and easy. If your fence situation is a question mark, that fact alone might make your whole decision for you. Number 5, the health and hoof side of things. Rolling on to number 5, health, hooves, and the vet bill. And I'm going to be even-handed here, 'cause both of these animals have got one big weakness, and it happens to be the same weakness. And then they each have a couple of their own. The shared enemy is the barber pole worm. Internal parasites are the number one thing that'll kill a small ruminant on a small place. And it don't matter which one you pick. Wet ground, warm weather, and too many animals in too small a space is how you get it. And the way you beat it ain't a bottle of dewormer every month. That's how folks bred the resistant worms in the first place. The way you beat it is rotation. Move them. Don't let them graze the same ground down to the dirt, 'cause the worm larvae live in that bottom 2 inches of grass. Learn to check the eyelid color. That's FAMACHA, and any extension agent or sheep and goat vet will show you how in 10 minutes. And only treat the animals that actually need it. Do that, and you're ahead of 90% of folks. Now the goat side. Goats are a little more delicate than their reputation suggests. They don't like being wet and cold. A goat needs a dry place to get out of a cold rain, and he'll stand there looking pitiful if he ain't got one. Goats are more prone to needing hooves trimmed regular. And goats tend to need more attention paid to their minerals, particularly copper. Which brings me right to the thing you have to know. Sheep and goats cannot share the same mineral. And this is the one mistake that'll cost you an animal. A goat needs copper in his diet. A sheep will be poisoned by that same amount of copper. It builds up in the liver, and then one day the sheep is dead and you don't know why. So you cannot feed a goat mineral to sheep. Ever. If you run both together, and plenty of folks do, you've got to set your mineral feeders up so each species gets their own, which usually means a creep-style feeder the sheep can't get into. Write that on the wall of the barn. On the sheep side, sheep get foot rot in wet ground. Sheep can get fly-struck in the summer if they're woolly and dirty around the back end, and a woolly sheep flat on its back can't always get up. That's called being cast, and you've got to walk your pasture and roll it back over. And of course, sheep have got the whole shearing business, which we'll get to. Winner on number 5. I'll call it a narrow win for sheep, mostly 'cause a sheep on good grass with good rotation asks less of you. But it's closer than folks think, and either one will get by fine if you rotate your pasture and stay on top of the worms. Number 4, milk. At number 4, the milk pail. And here we're going to see a lopsided one. If you want an animal that puts fresh milk on your table every morning for the least money and the least trouble, you want a dairy goat. It ain't even a discussion. A good Nubian or Alpine or Saanen doe will give you a half-gallon to a gallon a day, some of them more, on feed and space that wouldn't keep a dairy cow in hay money. Goat milk drinks sweet and clean if you handle it right. It makes fine cheese and soap and yogurt, and the whole system fits on a small place. And here's the practical part folks appreciate. A dairy goat is small enough that one person can handle her alone on a little milking stand in the corner of a shed. You don't need a barn and a head gate and a tractor. You need a stand, a bucket, and 20 minutes. Now, can you milk a sheep? You surely can. Sheep milk is rich as cream. It's what real Roquefort and Manchego and Pecorino are made from, and it's higher in butter fat and solids than goat or cow milk, so it makes tremendous cheese. But dairy sheep are a specialty deal in this country. The breeds are harder to come by and cost more. They give less volume per head, they've got a shorter lactation, and honestly, they're fussier to milk. It's a fine thing to do if cheese-making is your whole reason for getting into this. It is not the beginner's road to a glass of milk. Winner on number 4, goats by a country mile. If milk is anywhere on your list of reasons, that arrow points one direction. Number 3, meat and what your family will actually eat. We're down to number 3, and now let's talk about the freezer, because for a lot of folks, this is the whole reason. Here's the plain truth. Lamb is easier to sell, easier to cook, and easier to get your family to eat. Lamb has a mild flavor most Americans already recognize. It'll show up in a grocery store meat case. Your brother-in-law, who's never eaten anything but beef and pork, will eat a lamb chop off your grill and ask for another one. Sheep also finish well on grass alone, which means you can raise a lamb from birth to the freezer without buying much grain at all. And a lamb hangs at a size that makes sense for a family. You're not trying to find room for 600 pounds of anything. Goat meat, and if you're selling it, you'll hear it called chivon or cabrito, is the most widely eaten red meat on this planet, and it's leaner and lower in fat than lamb or beef. It's genuinely good eating if you cook it right, which mostly means low and slow and wet. Curry, stew, birria, barbacoa, a shoulder in the crock pot all day. What it don't do is take kindly to being cooked fast and dry like a steak, 'cause there ain't enough fat in it. So the meat's fine. The question is your market and your kitchen. And here's where it gets interesting, and this is the part that might surprise you. In a lot of the country, the market for goat meat is stronger than the market for lamb, and the folks buying it are paying cash and taking the whole animal. Get near any decent-sized city with a Caribbean, West African, Middle Eastern, Hispanic, or South Asian community, and there's steady year-round demand for goat, especially around holidays, and it's often underserved. If you're within hauling distance of a market like that, and you can raise boar or Kiko or Spanish goats on brushy ground you weren't using anyway, that is a real enterprise and not a hobby. Folks have built whole operations on exactly that. Winner on number 3, sheep, if it's for your own table and your own family. Goats, if you're looking at it as a business and you've got the market nearby. Go look up your local sale barns report and see what's moving and what it's bringing. That'll tell you more in 10 minutes than I can in an hour. Number 2, wool, fiber, and the shearing question. Number 2, fiber. And I put this at number 2 because it's the one folks either don't think about at all or they think about it wrong, and it's an annual, unavoidable, on-the-calendar obligation, so it deserves a good hard look. If you buy wool sheep, you have signed up to shear once a year, every year, whether you feel like it or not. This ain't optional, and it ain't cosmetic. A wool sheep that don't get sheared gets hot, gets fly-blown, gets filthy around the back end, and suffers for it. So you've got exactly 3 choices, and you should pick one before you buy. Choice 1, hire a shearer. Fine, that's what most folks do. But there's fewer good shearers every year They're busy, they're booking up in the spring, and if you've only got 5 head, you may be low on the list and paying a trip charge. Find out who shears in your county and what they charge before you own sheep, not after. That is a phone call you make now. Choice 2. Learn to do it yourself. It's a real skill. It's hard on your back, and your first few sheep will look like they lost a fight. But it's doable, especially with a small flock, and there's good instruction out there. Choice 3, and here's the one I want folks to know about, 'cause it's the answer for a whole lot of homesteads. Buy hair sheep and skip the whole business. Katahdin, Dorper, St. Croix, Barbados Blackbelly, these are sheep that shed their coat naturally, on their own, every spring. No shearing, ever. And it ain't a compromise breed neither. Hair sheep tend to be more parasite resistant than wool breeds. They handle heat better, they're good mothers, and they make fine meat. If you want the easy grazing and the good meat of a sheep, and you don't want a fiber project, hair sheep are, in my opinion, one of the best deals in small-scale livestock in this country. A lot of folks get all the way into sheep before anybody tells them these exist. And on the goat side, your standard meat or dairy goat gives you no fiber and needs no shearing. But if fiber is what you want, goats have got a fine answer too. Angora goats grow mohair, and cashmere-type goats grow cashmere, and both of those are high-value fibers that a hand spinner will happily buy from you. Angoras do need shearing twice a year, though, and they're the most delicate goat on the list, so that's a specialty road, not a starter road. Winner on number 2. It's a wash, and that's the point. If you want fiber, both have got a path. If you don't want fiber, then know this: regular goats give you nothing to deal with, and hair sheep give you nothing to deal with. The only wrong move is buying wool sheep without a shearing plan. Number 1, temperament. And this is the real answer. And now, the moment we've been waiting for. Number 1. And it ain't feed, it ain't fence, it ain't meat or milk or wool. Number 1 is temperament, theirs and yours. And I put it at number 1 because this is the thing that actually decides whether you love these animals in 3 years or you're loading them on a trailer come fall. Here's the difference, and I want you to really sit with it. A goat is a personality. A goat is curious, clever, opinionated, and involved in your business. A goat will follow you around the pasture. A goat will figure out how the gate latch works by watching you do it. A goat will stand on top of something he ain't supposed to be on top of and look you dead in the eye about it. A goat will get in the truck if you leave the door open. A goat will name himself, and it'll be something like Houdini, and you'll have earned it. Goats are, honest to goodness, a lot of fun. They've got more character than any livestock on a small place, and folks who love goats love them like a dog. But a goat is also a negotiation, every single day. A goat is a 2-year-old child that weighs 150 pounds and can jump. If you are a person who needs things to stay where you put them, a goat will wear a groove in your soul. A sheep is a system. A sheep is calm, quiet, agreeable, and content to be a sheep. Sheep move as a flock, which means once you learn to work with that instinct, you can move 20 of them with a bucket and a slow walk. Sheep don't scheme. Sheep don't climb your truck. Sheep will graze that pasture down nice and even and look like a picture doing it. And at the end of the day, they'll be right where you left them. Now, folks call sheep dumb, and I don't think that's fair. They're prey animals, and a prey animal's whole strategy is stay with the group and don't be the odd one out. That reads as dumb to us. It's actually just a different kind of smart, but I'll grant you this. A sheep will not entertain you the way a goat will, and a sheep in real trouble is sometimes slower to help itself. So here's the question, and it's the only one that really matters. What kind of keeper are you? If you enjoy an animal with a mind of its own, if you'll laugh when you find one standing on the hay wagon, if you want the daily back and forth of it, get goats. You'll have a wonderful time, and you'll never be bored, and every visitor you ever have will end up at that pen. If what you want at the end of a long workday is to look out across a quiet pasture and see everything exactly where it belongs, and to not be solving a puzzle at 8 o'clock at night in the dark with a flashlight in your teeth, get sheep. And there is nothing second-rate about that choice. That's most of us. More goats and more sheep have gone down the road over a mismatch of temperament than over any feed bill or fence or vet call in the history of small farming. Pick the animal that fits the person you actually are, not the one you'd like to think you are. The bonus? The third answer nobody offers you. Now, before we wrap up, one bonus, because I don't want you leaving here thinking it's strictly one or the other. You can run both. And in a lot of situations, both is genuinely better than either. Since a goat browses up and a sheep grazes down, they ain't fighting over the same bite of feed. Put both on a mixed pasture with some grass and some brushy edges, and you'll get more total production off the same acre than you would with either alone. And you'll keep those brushy fence lines from creeping in on you. There's a reason the old-timers ran mixed flocks. It wasn't sentiment, it was arithmetic. Just remember the 2 rules if you do it. 1, separate minerals, always, 'cause of the copper. 2, fence for the goat, 'cause whatever holds him will surely hold the sheep. Build for the harder animal, and the easier one comes along free. Wrap up and the starter plan. So there it is, the 7 things that actually decide it. Feed and forage, fence and escapes, health and hooves, milk, meat, fiber, and temperament. And if you noticed, sheep took more of the categories than goats did, and that's on purpose, because for the average person with the average patch of grass and the average fence, sheep are the easier animal. But goats won the ones that matter to a whole lot of you. Brush clearing and milk and pure daily enjoyment. Now, if you're just starting out and this feels like a lot, let me make it simple. If I was starting fresh on a small place today, here's what I'd do. Got grass and want meat and an easy life? 4 Katahdin or Dorper ewes. No shearing, good parasite resistance, mild meat your family will actually eat, and they'll stay home. Got brush and want milk? 3 Nubian or Alpine does, good woven wire fence with a hot wire, and a milking stand in the corner of the shed. Got brush and want to sell meat in a city within hauling distance? Boar or Kiko cross does on the rough ground, and a phone call to your sale barn before you buy anything. Whichever way you go, build the fence first, buy at least 2, get your minerals right, and plan your pasture rotation before you ever unload an animal. Do those 4 things, and you're set up to succeed with either species. And one more piece of advice worth more than everything else I've said. Go find somebody local who's already got 'em. Not the internet, a real person, 45 minutes down the road, who's been running goats or sheep on ground like yours for 15 years. Go help 'em work their flock for a day You'll learn more standing in that pen for 4 hours than you will in 4 months of reading. And you'll know by dinner time which animal is yours. If this was helpful to you, do me a big favor and smack that like button. It truly helps this little channel grow. And if you ain't subscribed yet, come on and join us. I put out honest, down-to-earth homestead and gardening advice every single week, straight from the farm. And I want to hear from you down in the comments. Goats or sheep? Which way did you go? And would you do it again? I read every one. Now get on out there and get that fence built. Take care, y'all.